This video is going to be my reaction to the Ravens' 35-34 win over the Bengals on Thursday Night Football, a game that I find incredibly difficult to evaluate and try to encompass for you. I sat for maybe 15 minutes to try to write something about what I wanted to say, my thoughts, and I go so far right and to the left in terms of my reactions or overreactions to our offense and then our defense. It simultaneously is a high-scoring shootout, another one between these two teams. We got brilliant plays from Lamar Jackson, Tylan Wallace, Rashad Bateman, clutch. Mark Andrews looked like Mark Andrews. Lamar throws 4 touchdowns. But then again, it seemed like a flat football game. I don't know about you, but it even seemed like the energy in the stadium was flat up until Marlon Humphrey forced the fumble. Lamar's incredible scramble on the next possession to get the ball down to the 1 really charged up M&T Bank Stadium, I thought. Tylan Wallace's 84-yard touchdown against CTB, a clean win. It was kind of poetic and amazing because CTB is a guy that, I see him talking a lot of shit post-snap and sometimes trying to bully guys. And so there was a little bit of me that was celebrating seeing him be the guy that misses the initial tackle. The Ravens, I thought, on both sides of the ball were incredibly flat, slow, out of position, and unprepared in the first half. Now, look, it's Thursday Night Football, so it's a difficult proposition. I understand. You really shouldn't be playing football on Thursday night. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. We should expect a shitty product on some level. The NFL is okay with that, obviously. They know people are going to watch. So, as Ravens fans, should we accept that level of product? No, absolutely not. And we're not. I'm sure that you're as upset as I am, and I record these and then upload them, so I don't know, obviously, in live time while I'm recording it, what people's reactions are going to be. I think the boos at halftime were deserved. This is a more negative reaction than perhaps you were anticipating for a game that we won. I think it was just for fans to have a problem with the product that was being put out on the field. And I mean coaches and players too. And then Marlon Humphrey does what he's been doing in 2024. He makes a game-changing play, another one. He had the interception late in the fourth quarter, Game 5, the road win at Cincinnati. That allowed us to tie. Then the 2 picks in the first half of the Bucks game before he goes out injured. Our defense was stinking. Well, I mean, it doesn't really narrow it down at this point to say our defense was stinking at Tampa Bay when our defense sucked. And then tonight, he strips Chase Brown on their side of the field. So I think Cincinnati has the ball on their own 27. So not only does he strip him and Roquan recovers, but he strips him such that we're already in scoring range for a field goal. We're down 21-7 at that point, and Cincinnati has the ball. So getting the ball back is a huge momentum swing, but getting the ball back in a position where we're already able to score if Tucker's able to convert field goals. And that's the really, truly crazy, frustrating, and remarkable thing about this Ravens team in 2024. Yes, we have to enjoy that we won the football game. And so on some level, we will celebrate that. But we're not wrong, and I don't think I am, for pointing out the negatives, of which there are many. False starts on the offensive line. Mistimed RPO plays where we're getting linemen downfield. I'm not exactly sure what's happening there. I wonder if Lamar's just getting the ball out too late. I don't know that, to be sure. I'm going to use Marlon as what I think is the perfect example for how difficult this team is to evaluate and sometimes enjoy. Lamar's the tip of the spear. He's the leader. He's MV3, third-time MVP if he keeps playing like this. And he turned in, I mean, that play in the third quarter, that's historic. Out of all the plays he's made, I think that one's probably top 10 for the situation. We have just stripped the ball to get it back. We're down 21-7. I believe it's a second down. Cincinnati gets 3 free rushers near him. He escapes them. There's no angle on the sideline. There is not. I don't see an angle for anyone that I've seen play football to be able to get the corner like that. Maybe Tyreek Hill and Lamar Jackson. And then not only does he get the corner, he tight ropes down the sideline. It only ended up being a 10-yard gain. How far did he run? I would guess he probably ran 35, 38, maybe 40 yards overall. I'm not sure. So beautiful play. But nonetheless, I'm going to use Marlon as what I think is a pristine example of this team in this season. He makes the incredible strip of Brown, who tormented us tonight on short passes. He had 9 catches. It was almost like we just weren't going to guard him. And I wish that I could sit here and talk about how great Marlon played tonight, but I can't. Because he was awful on the Bengals' last drive. The same guy that saved us in the third quarter on the final drive when we're up 35-28 and Cincinnati's got the ball, he gets beat by Iosivas or Yoshivas, however you say his name, on a 4th and 10. And look, they have to review it. It's really close. He's there to challenge, but the reality is he did get beat. He did. I didn't really like the coverage calls on that 4th and 10. I didn't like the coverage call on the 3rd and 10. To me, it looks like the same stick split zero-esque, and we're bringing pressure, getting rid of the ball fast. We don't need a sack there. But Marlon got beat. Barely got beat, still got beat. I don't think that he should be getting beat by a player of that caliber with that lack of foot speed. On that same drive, he has a face mask on Iosivas or Yoshivas, whatever, to give them a first down after a second down incompletion to Chase. So theoretically, it was going to be 3rd and 10 again, and he has a face mask that gives him a first down. A personal foul, 15 yards, in fact. And then, incredibly, he's on the absolute softest tight end that I've ever seen in the history of football on the 2-point conversion. After Chase's 3rd touchdown, gets Cincinnati to within 35-34. Marlon and Simpson are really physical with the guy, and he flops. Go watch the replay. He flops. So I'm not blaming Marlon for that. I'm actually going to say that the totality of who Marlon Humphrey was just in the second half of this game, he was simultaneously brilliant in that moment, the strip of Chase Brown, and then really poor on the late fourth quarter drive. He wasn't targeted. Why in the world Joe Burrow isn't throwing the football to Jamar Chase over there off the left side against Brandon Stephens, I do not know. Surely he has seen the film. Well, he knows that Chase has 3 touchdowns to that point, and that Brandon Stephens has given up touchdowns or completions on back shoulder throws all year, except for the interception that was earlier in the game. Or he has committed multiple defensive pass interference calls in goal line situations. That's the matchup I'm going to with the game on the line. And instead, Burrow throws to a wide receiver, 87, who looks like a tight end to me, first of all, from an agility and speed standpoint. And then second of all, he also has Ardarius Washington and Marcus Williams in that throwing window. We're focused on the Ravens here, and I'm saying that Marlon Humphrey perfectly encapsulates the Ravens as they stand right now. He made an incredible play to switch momentum, and then I guess 22 minutes of gameplay later, something like that, had probably the worst drive I've seen him have all year. But Lamar and the offense did most of the work after that forced fumble by Chase Brown. They the reality is, Burrow's poor decision making on the night allowed us to escape in some ways. His poor decision making, when you're asked to throw the ball 56 or 60 times drop back, you're going to make some bad decisions. And that one to Chase, I thought was poor. So was the throw that Brandon Stephens intercepted that got overturned, rightfully so, I think, a little bit later on. So we recover the onside kick, and we're 7-3. I guess we should be celebrating. We have won 2 straight, one over a Broncos team that came in with a lot of momentum. We were able to halt that. And then one over a team in the Bengals that I don't think is a very good football team. They do have a lot of talent, but not out there tonight. They were missing a lot of guys. And nonetheless, we can't stop them consistently. We have shown no ability to impact them. No, let me rephrase that. We don't even try to impact their offense. We don't impede their routes at all, very rarely. I thought tonight's game plan was exposed pretty quickly, and we needed to make an adjustment. What that adjustment could have been, I'm not entirely sure, but what we were doing wasn't working pretty much. Now, having said that, guys were physical with Burrow. We had 13 quarterback hits. And I will reveal something to you that I believe about the game of football, and it's old school, and I understand that it's probably too grotesque for the modern game or young people who are only exposed to the NFL and not other levels of football. So I'm unaware that this is a popular viewpoint. But if you want to throw the ball 50-plus times in a game, out of the shotgun, with an O-line that is this shaky and this inconsistent, that's the game you're playing. I'm talking about their offensive coordinator, their head coach, and their offensive staff. Were some of the hits physical, borderline, penalty worthy? Sure. Did we make contact with his helmet? I think Matabike definitely had a face mask. Absolutely. But I think the Bengals coaching staff, their play callers, they deserve some of the responsibility for the ass kicking that Burrow took out there tonight. He's sore. You could tell he was sore after 2 of the shots that we laid on him. That's football. When you can't run the ball and maintain a balance on offense, when you become one-dimensional, you end up putting your greatest asset, well, their second greatest asset, Jamar Chase is their greatest asset. You end up putting one of your best assets at severe risk. That's the style of play the Bengals have elected to use. It is effective from a production standpoint. It certainly is. But I wonder if over the course of a 17-game season, the offensive structure that they have is always going to get Joe Burrow beat up. That's the pattern that it seems like. Now, I understand some will say, well, Coach, he's had seasons with really, really bad offensive linemen. Adjust your scheme and figure out a way to make it work such that you don't put Joe Burrow at so much risk. Tonight's game looked to me like in line with, the types of things that we saw happen to him his rookie year, his second year, where he took so many hits and they were not doing a good job of protecting him, and people blame the offensive line. Well, if you're the offensive coordinator and you know that the left tackle is going to have trouble with certain pass pro situations, you need to help him out. And they don't do that. They don't chip very often. Occasionally they did tonight, but they don't often. Usually it's on third down when they put two tight ends in the backfield. So I blame the Bengals coaching staff. And sure, Bengals fans are going to say they should have called a penalty on Madubuike. They should have called a penalty on a hold on the two-point conversion. I actually don't think so. I think Gesicki's playing soft. That's the style of play they've chosen, and it has drawbacks. And one of them is your quarterback gets hit a lot, sometimes a little late, sometimes in his helmet. But look, against us, what they did and what they've done in 2024, tremendously effective. Clearly, our porous defense isn't even worth evaluating at this point for me. Burrow, despite getting hit 13 times, sacked 3 times by Madubuike, Owe hit him 4 times. Burrow goes for 428 on 34 of 56 throwing. Chase has 264 yards of it, 11 catches on 17 targets. We simply don't identify player threats by location. Pre-snap, our defense, let's do it this way. How many times have you, we talked about this in our Ravens Discord tonight, how many times have you this year seen Ravens defensive players pre-snap pointing at something and communicating? Now, they certainly communicate, and sometimes we see them turn their face mask one way or the other and communicate. How many times have you ever seen them point at something and then clearly take something away? I may have seen it 3 times, maybe. And the guys involved was Kyle Van Noy, Marlon Humphrey, and Kyle Hamilton. That's it. Remind me of any that you have seen where you can definitively say, in your opinion, not fact, prove it to me. I mean, in your opinion, you can say they saw something, they identified it, like, for example, Chase in the slot or Chase outside with a particular receiver lined up close to him. We cannot allocate enough resources for our pass defense sometimes, and I think the coverages in the final 2 minutes were they kind of disgusted me for real. 3rd and 10 with a certain amount of time left. I think it's 109, something like that. A sack doesn't win us the game at that point. An incompletion does, or an interception does. And in my opinion, the 3rd and 10 coverage call, stick split 0, basically. Maybe there's 1 or 2 guys dropping out. And then the 4th and 10 play call, I just don't like it. We're up 7. We don't need to be risky. We need to make Joe Burrow beat us with a difficult throw. To me, those throws he had to make, the one to Iosivas or Yoshivas, that one was easy. It's simple. It's man against Marlon. Throw it to a leverage side. Let your receiver make the catch, get the first down. He did by a couple inches. You may disagree. That's no problem. And say, Coach, I think we've got to bring pressure we got to bring guys, blitzes to bring pressure. No, we don't. We got pressure all night tonight with 4. And we sacked him 3 times. Probably could have had another 2. I thought Owe was held 2 times clearly this evening, not called. So you can let me know what you think of those thoughts. We have talked about our defense being so poor that maybe we only need a certain amount of stops in certain parts of the game. Someone, I forget who it was, made a comment last week in one of my videos, said this Ravens team should defer every time so we get the ball in the 3rd quarter and try to set it up to where we get the ball to end the 2nd quarter and we can double up. And so going off of that thought, whoever it was that said that, shout out to you. Going off of that thought, I think we need 1 or 2 stops in the 2nd quarter and 1 or 2 stops in the 3rd quarter and then figure out a way to double up. And that sounds very simplistic and probably difficult to replicate overall. but the crazy thing is we weren't able to do any of that tonight. Well, we got some stops, I should say. We end up being down 14-7 at the half. We had to punt on our late second quarter possession, and then Burrow goes down there and throws an interception to Brandon Stevens. I thought that was an incredibly bad decision. I guess Brandon Stevens' right foot was never down until the left foot was already out of bounds. A couple of us thought that the right foot touched down first, and then the left foot was drug. So therefore, the right foot coming down again didn't matter, but that's not the way it was on the instant replay. You could kind of see that clearly. They ruled it correctly, in my opinion. His second step in this sequence was out of bounds. I just think it's a really poor decision by Joe Burrow to throw that ball. There's 1:05 left in the half. The Bengals, are about to score to go up 14-7. Your defense has been playing great. So this throw is to Gesicki, who, like I said, he reminds me of NBA floppers. Like, he reminds me of an old school NBA guy who's 7'6", named Sean Bradley. But anyway, Burrow got a lucky break because it's a great turn and catch by Stevens. He's out of bounds. And then we didn't have enough time left to score in the second quarter after the Bengals put that touchdown up to go up 14-7. It was really incredible to me that we didn't get either score because we didn't score on our opening possession of the third quarter. And we're down 14-7 and fall behind 21-7. It shows how explosive our offense and how incredible Lamar can be. Even in moment, I thought the ball that he was throwing tonight early had no velocity. He looked like a Major League Baseball tonight to me. Not all the time, but just tonight. He looked like a Major League Baseball starting pitcher who normally throws 95, 96, but for whatever reason is tired. Maybe he's going on short rest, dealing with something, and his fastball's only hitting 90, 91, or maybe even topping out at 89. Lamar didn't seem to have a fastball tonight on some of those throws. Credit to the Bengals defense as well. I think they have outplayed us for 5 of the 8 quarters we've met up this year, not counting the overtime game in week 5. But the amount of playmakers we have and what Lamar can do with them. Tylan Wallace had a 100-yard game. 3 catches for 115, to be precise. Bateman has the game-winning touchdown catch officially. 6 of 7 catches to targets. Zay Flowers was quiet by his standards. Derrick Henry only put up 68 yards on 16 carries, and we still scored 35 points. Mark Andrews looked like Mark Andrews. He had that touchdown catch against Stick Split 0. There's been some discussion on social media. Is it an adjustment? Whatever. It's a backside drag by Bateman, which is the same route that we used to thwart Stick Split 0 last time. And so I don't think Andrews is running a drag directly into Bateman, but I could be wrong. It could be like a mesh concept. Lamar's highlight to me is, other than Humphrey's forced fumble, is the play of the game. I think that's another one where you just will see it for years, and probably someday there'll be a generation, hopefully not soon, that watches highlights and goes, holy, you know what? Who in the heck was Lamar Jackson? Like, at this point, he almost reminds me of Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. Just legendary athleticism and plays that are made that are almost outside the realm of normal behavior on a football field at the NFL level, and he just makes them look easy. That scramble down the right sideline in the third quarter, gets outside of 2 defenders, gets a block from Linderbaum, who I thought played really well, gets us down to the 1-yard line. Henry punches it in to make it 21-14. And look, our defense did get a pair of stops. So part of that formula we talked about was present. We forced a punt or early in the fourth quarter after a sack by Matabike set the Bengals behind the sticks. I believe it was a 3rd down throw to Chase over the middle, and Wallace scored 3 plays later on the speed out against CTB. I think he outruns Geno Stone to score from 84 yards out after barely staying on the field of play while navigating Logan Wilson in pursuit with a stiff arm. Tucker misses the PAT, and it's just unbelievable. You can't fathom this season for him. I couldn't have. So we're still down 21-20. Then the defense gets another stop because the Bengals turn it over on downs. 2 deep passes by Burrow. One to Jamar Chase on a 3rd and 2, and then one to Burton on a 4th and 2. I think questionable play calling by their offensive staff and questionable decision-making by Burrow. I'm putting his at least 3 of his decisions, where to throw the ball and when, maybe 4, in question. So with a little bit, like 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, I thought their defense, Cincinnati's defense, was had. I thought they were done. We didn't face a third down, and we scored in 7 plays. The 18-yard touchdown to Andrews. Like I said, it kind of maybe it's an adapted route against their stick blitz zero. We had beat them in week 5 on certain routes, and we beat them again tonight. So 2-point conversion play is freaking amazing. Lamar with a dual read with Andrews. We're up 28-21, and then Burrow and Chase erase it in 1 play. That's the part that's frustrating, actually sickening. Like, there's no excuse for it. Or in the defensive staff need oversight, supervision, adjustment, criticism publicly on social media. I mean, why not? Like, we're here watching, or you're here listening to this video at 2:30 in the morning, so we care about the team and the product that's put out there. And Zach Orr's side is failing. And I said this 3 weeks ago, a couple people brought it up in the Discord tonight. If Todd Monken's offense was averaging 7 points per game and was the worst passing team in the NFL, you would be livid. We would all be livid because it will reflect poorly on Lamar Jackson. Now, over on the defensive side, maybe there's players that we don't care about as much as we care about Lamar Jackson. Fine, I understand that. I agree. Nonetheless, our defense is that bad against the pass. Historically bad, if you ask me. I think the play call sheet might need to be whittled down or maybe even have calls overridden. And if you don't like it and you're on the defensive staff, then there's the door and you can leave. And if Harbaugh's not able to take that mentality and or publicly call these guys out, then Harbaugh's part of the problem. It's that bad, in my opinion. The standard is, there is no standard at this point to win games. If we want to win games against good teams in the playoffs, how do we do that? The Bengals are not one of them, to be clear. I think the defense needs guidance, supervision, among other things. Fortunately, we got the ball back after the 70-yard touchdown to Chase, and Lamar's interception to CTB was overruled. CTB couldn't control it. Lamar converts a third down to Bateman, 3rd and 6, with about 4 minutes left. Really amazing. And then we kind of start rolling. Flowers for 19 yards. Henry for a run of 8, and I think a run of 5. Another offensive lineman downfield on a successful screen to Flowers, like 9 yards, gets called back. I just wonder, like, is Lamar getting it out too late? I don't know that to be the truth. I'm just wondering why it's happening so much. Twice tonight and I think once last week. It didn't matter, really, because on the 2nd and 10, 2 plays later, Lamar finds Bateman. Bateman got free from CTB multiple times tonight. That's a matchup that we've won often in the last 2 years. Remember, CTB was the guy guarding Bateman on Bateman's first touchdown in 2023. He beat him again. It's mostly intermediate routes that he's won that matchup on. Cincinnati started calling timeouts around the 2-minute mark, and then on the 3rd and goal, Lamar hits the fadeaway. I couldn't find a good picture of it, to Bateman, who again got free from CTB. The ending involved our defense, so you know how it went, even if you didn't watch. We're really fortunate that Burrow decided to go to the wrong place with the football. If he goes to Chase, they probably have a higher percent chance, obviously, of either converting it or getting a defensive pass interference call, especially if it's something that's back shoulder. I can't believe that was what their coaching staff wanted them to do. I just knew as they lined up and I saw Stevens over there, I was like, oh no, here we go. You know, hopefully Brandon Stevens can get one. I didn't think anything made sense tonight. Burrow's decision-making, Lamar looked like he was definitely dealing with something. Our continued false starts at the offensive line position, our inability to redirect receivers or identify where Chase is pre-snap, 2 downfield penalties, and then on the other side, we have 13 quarterback hits, 3 sacks. So hopefully we don't have to hear all the discussion about our pass rush. We now have 30 sacks for the year, I believe, in 10 games, so three sacks per game. There's multiple teams that are well below us in terms of sacks per game and overall sacks. Overall, to be honest with you, I think Burrow is generally throwing the ball immediately, so we're not going to get there. I think we need to explore, talk about disrupting routes in other ways, jamming, releasing people, delay rushing such that Burrow's picture is changed post-snap. We're not doing that enough, in my opinion. I'm kind of done talking about the defense for a day. Darius Washington did play well. Humphrey had a game-changing play. Really, where are we in 2024 without Humphrey? We're probably at least 5-5 without the plays he's made. It's conceivable we're 4-6, but Madubuike had 3 sacks. I thought Ojabo and Owe got to Burrow some. Owe had 4 quarterback hits. And then on the other side, Cincinnati had none. Well, excuse me, they had 1 quarterback hit and 0 sacks. 0. All the guys on the offensive line held up. The first half, my notes indicate that the Ravens literally have not shown up. Burrow's got 30 passes, 17 of 29, for 161 and a touchdown. And while the defense has competed, Brandon Stevens, a near interception. We are taking away nothing. The Bengals had 15 first downs in the first half, 196 yards of offense compared to 102 for us. I thought that their complementary players, Gesicki, Chase Brown, made plays on the night that we weren't able to limit for whatever reason. And unfortunately, some of the matchups was involving Marlon Humphrey or some of our other higher profile guys. You have to let me know if you have the same thoughts as I do about this game. I realize that I'm probably more negative than others in responding or reacting to it. There's so much that's here negative to talk about on our defense. And then our offense getting stopped cold in the first half. We had 1 touchdown on 4 drives. Now, we did have a 5th possession in the first half, but I think it was like 23 seconds left or something like that. It was a boring game in the first half from a Ravens standpoint. We were not competing, in my opinion, to the standard that we want to do so. And those guys on the defensive side have some real answer. I think have to answer for it, and they should have to answer for it publicly. If someone was to come out and say we don't like that we're doing this or that or these things coverage-wise, that's not a bad thing. Bring the situation to a head earlier, the better. If it should have been brought up, if the players wanted to bring it up, I think it should have been brought up in week 4. And I don't know that to be true, but Marlon Humphrey kind of alluded to it tonight, saying that, this is not the standard. This is not Ravens football at all, and I would agree with him. You guys feel free to let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. Some of my thoughts about Burrow's decision-making, our defensive structure, lack thereof at times, particularly our lack of identifying formations and where players are. Let's be real. Chase did the majority of the work tonight. And we did not do a great job, in my opinion, of identifying where he was and trying to either switch, roll, or hedge the coverage to his side or create a double team. I thought I saw it maybe twice. And I think we should have done it probably 4 times as much. In any case, this is my reaction video to the Ravens' 7th win of the year. This one, 35-34 over the Bengals. We got 2 wins over the Cincinnati Bengals this year by a total of 4 points. It's kind of remarkable. Appreciate you guys' time. If you think other Ravens fans would enjoy this reaction video to our 35-34 win over the Bengals at home on Thursday Night Football, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.